Hi everyone. Today's video is going to be kind of long, but it's a very interesting story. If you liked my paranormal encounters video, that's a long one too. Hopefully you can watch it all the way to the end. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about how I died in my death experience. That's what I call it. So, I was a 31-year-old transgender female. I didn't know I was an angel. I didn't know anything that I'm about to tell you. That now is part of my regular day. So, to jump right in, I worked at this place. It's a nonprofit. It's called East Bay Innovations. It's in the East Bay of the Bay Area of California. I went in to talk to my HR manager because I noticed that I was having a lot of issues in the department I was working in. There was a lot of things that were going on that I didn't like. In one case, my client was being taken advantage of by a few employees, long-standing employees. So I went in to talk about that with my HR manager because I couldn't talk to my regular team about it. I already tried and they don't care. They know what they're doing. Um, so anyways, I just went into work one day and this was really bothering me that my client was being taken advantage of by some of my employees. So I go into her office, and I had previously always avoided her office for some reason. I just like had an aversion to her office. I was always like dodging her at work. Um, just I had a sixth sense about it, but I had forgotten this when I went to talk to her this morning. And so I go into her office. I start telling her about what's going on with my client and the people involved and what's happening. And then for some reason, I started talking about my own life, probably because um, the subject of what I was talking about with my client was being taken advantage of and being hurt and abused, basically. And that's what happened to me as a kid. Everyone tried to control me as a kid. I was just kind of like a football passed around. I didn't feel like a person or a human being growing up. I was constantly in a state of anxiety, and this led to me talking about myself in the meeting. And I started going on and on about my life, and I started mentioning a lot of sinful behavior that I did when I was younger. And I started reciting things. Like I told her, I once went to the CIA when I was 16. That's what I wanted to do with my life. I visited there, and I went to some classes and stuff, and it was interesting. So I brought that up. I brought up the fact that I used to work for the police department. I was running my own nonprofit project, kind of. I tried to take it off with the FBI, but they didn't care. They were just using me, just like they use a lot of people. But I started talking to her about all these things, and another voice would pop out of me, and I thought it was my voice. But they would be like, "Shut up, Allison, don't tell her. Shut up, Allison, don't tell her." And I thought it was just me having like some kind of panic attack, but it wasn't. And like the lady who was my HR manager, she's like, "Is there something going on here? Like, what's going on?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like, do you think it's like I don't use drugs?" Like, I thought she was hinting at the fact that I was like on drugs or something. And I used marijuana at the time, but not when I was at work. So like I wasn't having any kind of medical experiences. And this voice kept coming out of me, and like my body would quiver up, like my body does now. You can't see it, but my body will like tense up, like when you're flexing, and that's the demonic spirit that was inside of me trying to talk. And it was talking out of my body. Um, my HR manager asked me another question. She's like, "Do you know any other languages?" And I was like, "Yeah, I studied Russian in college." And then the voice inside of me said Farsi, which I don't know Farsi, but the demon apparently does, or at least he claims to. And I didn't know that this was going on. I thought this was all me, and I was just having like a mental breakdown. But come to find out, I started reciting more and more things, and eventually I landed on the last thing. Um, well, yes. So I landed on the last day, and it was when I had this vision where um, I used to hang out with this one lady that I met at work when I worked for Chrysler, when I worked security. And we went down and we had bought some marijuana. So I was talking about this and of buying marijuana with my friend, and I started interacting with it, and I was holding it in my hand while I was talking to my HR director. And then I realized I was gonna die. And before I died, I was like, I kept telling my HR manager, I was like, hey, can you, there's somebody here to talk to you. And I was like, because I kept telling her while I was telling her my story, I was like, there's something in it for you if you just wait until the end. And there was. And I didn't know it was coming. I didn't know what it was. But I had realized when I was having all these visions and like these real interactive visions that I could like interact in, and I was completely immersed in at some point, like the time when I went into this vision where I was holding a gun to somebody's head, and I walked through a whole scenario where I was part of a SWAT team doing a raid with the Detroit Police Department. It didn't happen. I was made to believe that it did happen, and Mary was the one that stopped me from going through that. And this happened right before my death, too. And so if you watch my PTSD video, you can see it. This happened right before I died as well. So it's out there if you want to see it. But anyways, I figured out, I was like, hey, I'm gonna die. And she's like, you're gonna die? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna die. And I'm like, I never done this before, but there's someone here to talk to you. And they're gonna talk to you through me. Because she looked at the door when I said that. And I was like, no, they're gonna talk through me. And before I died, I made signs with my hands. I sat back in my chair, because I was sitting in a chair at the time. And the sign that I made was my personal sign. So Jesus does this, but I have a personal sign that I do is like this. So I sat back in my chair and I made signs with my hand, and a blue beam of light shot out of my body. And then I died. I went limp, and I crashed and caught myself with my hand before I went limp into the dust next to me, and I died. And apparently, from what I was told by God, I went up to heaven and he gave me a new mission, because I said, before I died, I said, I believe I have completed my mission and I give my body to God, and then I died. And when I came back to it, when I was starting to get conscious again, I became in my body, and there was this lady. This lady was talking out of my body, where she was like right next to me. And she was the deceased mother of my HR manager, who died when she was 16 years old in a car accident. And this lady was talking to her about her personal business, but then they started talking about my life, and they started picking my brain and doing a life review. So I sat there limp, unable to move, while this lady was reading my memory, and she was about to take me to heaven. She's one of the angels that, she's one of those humans or angels that help us transition. So when you die, they determine whether you go to heaven or whether you go to hell. And I was going to heaven. So she started uncovering this. And she's like, well, she's got family here when she's ready. And then she's like, oh, wait a second. No. Like, she has another purpose. Because I knew I'd completed my purpose before I died. So that's why she came down. Because she was going to help me transition to the next life. But she realized through picking my brain, and they're able to read your soul, and you can't hide anything. Everything you do is recorded. So she was reading my soul and going through my history, and then she figured out that I wasn't a human, I was an angel. And that's how I knew I was an angel. And I know I'm an angel now because of that experience. And after, to get the lady to leave, I realized the mind is a powerful thing, and I thought of a payphone like in the Matrix where he hangs up and he gets out of it, and that's what snapped me out of the spiritual session, was me doing that. And after she had left and I gained control of my body, I realized two things at that point. I'm an angel from heaven. I didn't know what angel I was. And I was possessed by a dark spirit, which I didn't know was Satan. Um, but I have Lucifer in my body, and you see he just stuck my tongue out. I can't really control that. But I have Satan inside of me, and I have Lucifer inside of me. Now, I didn't know who these demons were. I didn't know I had Satan in me, number one, until a long time afterwards. I didn't know that Lucifer was in me either. I didn't know his name, and he didn't know his name either, because up until the point that I died, we shared this body for my whole life. Because if you watch my other video, I have autism, and people who have autism have demons in them that probably can't be pulled out of them. They're just stuck with them for their whole life. And I'll get into that in the other videos. But in my case, the demon didn't know who he was. He thought he was pretty low on the chain, because how do I know this? The HR manager that I worked with is part of the occult. So she does these spirit medium rituals where she consults with demons. She's an occult person. I didn't know this at the time. I found out about it later. But the demon inside of me wanted to talk to her. So I was sitting in a chair, the demon popped out of my body and started talking to her. And I couldn't hear some of it because I wasn't supposed to hear it. So it's like, same thing when I was channeling the spirit of her deceased mother. I didn't hear her personal stuff. I just heard stuff about my life. Because like you only hear what you need to hear when this is happening. So anyway, this demon starts talking to her, and he just starts talking about going back to Adam and Eve. He's like, that's where it all started. And you can hear his voice. It's like a deep voice. And he like sent his demons to go like be with her, and he like gave her advice that was bad advice. That voice in your head, see, I just did it again. That voice in your head that I always thought was there to help me was actually a demonic voice. So I gave her some bad advice. I said, listen to that inner voice that you have. Because that inner voice is going to help you. And no, it's not a good idea to listen to the inner voice, especially if you know it's demonic. But anyways, he sent his minions to go be with her because I have a legion inside of me. So how am I able to talk like this? Because I have God in my body as well, with the Holy Spirit. So if I was like a regular person, I would probably like be rolling my eyes into the back of my head and like crawling up walls and stuff. But because I'm able to control it, it doesn't happen. He just sticks his tongue out sometimes when you watch me talk, and he can contract my muscles. But so he sent his minions to go be with her, and he started talking about stuff, and I wasn't hearing most of it. But something he did do, he's like, right before he wrapped up his little talk where he threatened some things, I'm not going to say what he said because he's just a liar anyways. But one of the things he said to the HR manager is like, Allison's going to snap her fingers and try to create a fire because that's what she does. That's what I do. You know, I'm 18 years old, but I'm not in my body. And I thought, because when I said to my HR manager, I was like, I study a lot of cultures in this world. When I went to school for international relations. And I studied the Japanese culture. And in Japan, a lot of people believe that demons can help you. And I was like, well, I didn't think it was a pure evil spirit. And I was like, maybe I'm supposed to share my body with this demon, this fallen angel. Because why is it there? Why can't I talk to it? I can literally talk to it right now. I can talk to both Lucifer and Satan if I want to. But I try not to. I try to ignore it. But that's a subject for another video is my coming to the church and me figuring out what's inside of me is a bad demon. It's just not normal for people to be able to communicate with them. So I'll save that for other videos, but that's how I died and I came back to life. And before I died, I lived a normal life. I was Allison Johnson. I went to work every day, put food on the table. I liked investing in the stock market. I liked playing video games. I liked playing sports. I liked a lot of things that I find hard to do now because I already died. I'm here on this earth, I guess, to spread my message to people. So I'm going out there and talking to people. If you can watch my other videos, I mean, what I have to say is real. Now, I say in my description, you don't have to believe any of it. Just believe in Jesus, believe in God. You don't even have to believe in Jesus. You just have to believe in the right God. And that will get you to heaven as long as you follow his commandments, which I did for the most part. The only commandment I broke was the Sabbath, keeping the Sabbath holy, but pretty much everybody on earth breaks that rule. And that's sad. So they've made exceptions for a lot of people. For a lot of years, they've been making exceptions on that one for pretty much everybody, because pretty much everybody has to work on Sunday. But anyways, that's how I died, and I came back to life, and that's my death experience. Before I died, I had a normal life, but now I know I'm an angel, and I know I have these demons inside me, and a fallen angel, because the fallen angel, Lucifer, is separated from Satan. They're two different beings. So Lucifer was a creation of God, Satan's a creation of another god, who's our next fight after the demons, basically. So, with that being said, I hope you have a great day. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask them. I had this encounter, whether you believe it or not, that's my story. You can talk to witnesses. I have witnesses for a lot of things, especially for sticking my tongue out. It's pretty annoying when he does it. I just try to ignore it. So if anyone wants help with going through these issues, if you're experiencing something demonic, you can message me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it and talk to you about things that work and things that don't work and things that I do to help me. And yeah, I just try to get through every day. I don't want to be here anymore. I'd rather go to heaven. I'm destined to go to heaven. I'd rather go there right now. But instead I'm making these videos and I'm going out there and trying to teach people about a lot of behavior that we deem as normal. It's sinful behavior and we shouldn't do it. So let me know in the comments. I can talk about anything. I have knowledge of heaven and hell. I have a lot of knowledge and a lot that I can teach people. So if you have anything you want me to discuss, just let me know. And I'm here until I go back home. So have a good day, and I hope you made it till the end. Bye.